Curtis, let's go back 25 years ago, and you had no idea some of the things you were going to uncover were actually going on. Why don't you take us back to 1992?
Well, in 1992, I was in graduate school, mid-20s, and had enjoyed the Reagan Revolution and all the blessings that came with the way he did things. But I was asked to go to a meeting by a gentleman the summer of 1992 that really kind of changed the course of my life for the last 20 years or so. And it was a meeting of the Communist Party USA, and they were breaking off a new group. And as most people probably listening are thinking, wait a minute, 92, communism was already dead by then. Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought. I thought, hey, in 1989, the Berlin Wall came down. In 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved. Now, this is the summer of 92. And they're having a meeting at the University of California, Berkeley, and this older gentleman I know who'd been studying communism his whole life, he said, would you go for me? I'm curious what they're going to talk about. We've won this. The war's over, the Cold War, and we were victorious. And so I said, sure, I'll go. And I went more, to be quite honest, as just to be a blessing to him, to be a help to him. I didn't know that much about all these things. I'd appreciated Ronald Reagan, but didn't understand until later how insightful he was to understand what a great enemy the communist threat was. So I went to this meeting, and they laid out this plan. They said, we're going to take down the families, the business free enterprise system, and then the morality, just the moral fiber of this country is so evil. It's so rotten. It enslaves people where they can't be free to do whatever they want, and we got to destroy it. And after sitting through the 3 days of this breakout sessions and everything, I, to be honest, wasn't very impressed. I took all my notes and a couple of tapes I had recorded and gave them to the man and didn't think about that hardly again until 16 years later, and it was 2008, and I was a state representative in Idaho, had gotten into politics and became a representative, and all of a sudden, all the legislation that was coming through, even in Idaho, started to make me think, oh, wait a minute, what were they talking about that meeting? And one of the things in particular that caught my eye was they had said in 1992, we're going to use the environmental movement to destroy the free enterprise system in America. And in 92, I did not understand how that could be done because the environmental movement was really kind of the fringe movement of tree huggers and chaining themselves to the trees and things like that. And so, but in 2008, 16 years later, it is the most powerful force in the entire world.
Right.
So, I mean, an Inconvenient Truth had just come out with Al Gore, and everyone was saying this is the whole thing. And legislation was coming through there, and businessmen were calling me saying, please don't pass this. This will wreck my business. Please don't do this. And all of a sudden the light went on, and I realized, wait a minute. And so that's when I went back and started studying that group. Who were the people that actually set that up and what was going on? And I came across stuff that I simply couldn't believe. And it so motivated me that I took my life savings, quit my job, and made a movie. And I have never made a film before. That was not what I was trained in, but that's how powerful the information was.
Yeah, and of course the topics, both of Agenda and Agenda 2, Masters of Deceit, which is the current film, covers so many topics. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed. I'd like to play a 4-minute trailer to give folks a little bit of an idea of some of the topics it covers, but it's the attempt to bring America down, quite frankly, by the left, and they have been extremely successful, and now we're even watching the far left starting to take the attention in this campaign season. We've been watching some of the primary activity. We have blatant socialists and closet socialists on the left making tremendous gains. Let's just play that 4-minute trailer.
You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance.
And this is the point I think Americans need to comprehend. If America goes down economically, it will go down militarily. If America goes down militarily, we all go down. The free world is finished, and will be finished for a very, very long time.
Everything, practically, is in a self-destructive mode.
We're in the most critical period we've been since the Revolutionary War.
You're not alert, you're not awake with what's happening.
They would just as soon see this country on its knees and everything equalized.
That concept of collectivism, big government, is a magnet for the predator class.
The plans for all of this are to have everything globally in place by 2020.
If we're that dumb and we allow this to happen, we deserve everything we're going to get, because we're going to get it right in the neck.
We're headed into what could be a nightmare that would make all the atrocities of the 20th century look like they were a dress rehearsal.
When people are afraid, they ask government to do more, not less.
Their theories are designed to scare the people to believe there's a crisis when there is not a crisis at all. There's no crisis.
I think we're losing more and more freedom because we are afraid.
The left wants you to believe that catastrophe is always just around the corner. And the only way to avoid it is to do exactly what they say. But this film will show everything they do is just a Trojan horse of deceit, carefully crafted to advance their real agenda of finishing America off.
We have been the main stumbling block to world communism since it first raised its ugly head.
From the promotion of Islam to the propaganda of climate change, from the deceit of Common Core to the manufactured economic crisis, and from their manipulation of the evangelical church to the unsustainable debt burden. This film will show the issues are simply being used as a smokescreen to hide the purposeful, premeditated, treasonous attacks on the foundations of our freedom.
The war on religion has just purged us from being able to determine right from wrong.
You know what Alexander Solzhenitsyn said about Russia? How the communists took over Russia? He said, "We forgot God."
Their stated agenda, carved in stone on a monument in Georgia and outlined in documents placed in the Ark of Hope, is to eliminate 6.5 billion people by century's end. And they will succeed if we don't stop them.
This is not just a fight for the United States of America. This is a fight for civilization itself.
It's everything Karl Marx dreamed of before our very eyes.
I think they've pushed us over the cliff and ever since. America isn't going to fall. We are falling.
You're listening to Understanding the Times Radio. I'm Jan Markell. Eric, your thoughts?
You know, I was thinking about how many credible voices there are there, and folks may recognize one or two of them, but as you watch the film and you see this lineup that Curtis has amassed, the ignorance that the other side is working in, they're counting on us to be more concerned with so many other things around us, entertainment, sports, whatever, just in a way that they can work this. I think they're better prepared to do what they wanted to do in 1980 than they were then. I think working in subversion the way they are is a much better way to go, and I'd love to hear what Curtis has to say about that subversion is really what's happening here without us understanding what's going on.
Yes, that strategy is not new either. Antonio Gramsci, back in the 1930s, was an Italian communist, and he wrote a whole book over 2,000 pages long called Notes from Prison. And what that book entailed, and it's been the blueprint of the left ever since, is this is how you go in and subvert a Christian culture. So you change them as a people from within themselves. You change them into a person that wants what you're selling. So you don't have to force anything on them. You don't have to take control of them. They realize in a Christian culture, people are not going to have a violent revolution and start killing each other off, so we've got to change them where they want what we're selling, and that's what they have done. That's just like you were talking a minute ago, Jan. I mean, look who is running on the Democratic ticket for President of the United States. A open, radical, hardcore socialist, and then, of course, a radical Marxist who acts like she's just a good old liberal Democrat.
Yes.
But, I mean, and people love it. They want what they're selling. They want income equality. They want all these socialist Marxist ideas. They want the good of the many to outweigh the good of the few. That's all Marxism is. People think, oh, it's some big thing. No, that's all it is. But we saw in the 20th century, when it is implemented, it is slaughter for those that are underneath it every time. And there has been no exception in world history that a government that did not have power didn't use it against their own people.